Hello again. So I'm going to be talking about my rat's diet at the moment. I'm going to be going through my personal mix. I use the Shunamite diet mix, which I've got a list of here to help me. Just for people's guidance at home, I am going to put an image up here of the Shunamite diet I found online. It's probably going to be very hard to read because it's not a very clear image, unfortunately, and I will put a simplified version of it here, which just gives the percentages but not the actual ingredients that go into the percentages. And I'm also going to read through my personal mix that I do for my boys. So I will read off the Shunamite mix, just a simplified version, before going through my personal mix that I do for my rats. So it's called the Shunamite diet mix. What I would recommend is going online and just Googling the Shunamite diet mix. I'll leave the spelling of it in the description and quite possibly the title of the video as well. So hopefully it'll make it easier for people to find. The base of your mix will be 50 to 60%. Then you have processed grains, which is 20 to 25% of the mixture, a protein source, which is 5 to 10% of the mixture, and then herbs and vegetables, which is another 5 to 10% of the mixture, and finally seeds, which make up just 5% of the mixture. Before I get into my actual mix itself, I'll just show the cup you use. You have a dedicated cup for your mixture. And what you do is each cupful of any one of the ingredients is 5%. It's a volume-based percentage system, not a weight-based percentage. So with the cup being 5%, it means you can work at 5% in increments. So for example, obviously seeds is only 5%, so you just use one cupful. But if you're using, for example, 10% of the protein source, you'd use 2 cupfuls, and you just multiply it for the percentage that you need for each ingredient. And what I'll do now is I'll just read through and I'll show what I put in the mix, and then I'll show myself mixing it up in a fresh container, because the container I'm working with at the moment for my rats is very almost empty. So it just seemed like a good opportunity to show the actual mixing process before I run out completely, or before I redo it without making a video about it. So as I said, 1 cup is 5%. So for the base mix, I use a pre-mixed rabbit food. This one is Nature's Touch Adult Rabbit, which has just got sort of like natural hay and things like that in it. Apparently, from what I've seen online, is the pre-mixed rabbit food isn't necessarily the best food you can get for rabbits, but it makes a good base mix for rat food. You just have to add in the other ingredients to give them all of the nutrients they need. But I don't have rabbits, so I don't know how good it is or isn't for rabbits. That's just what I've heard. So yes, base mix is a good quality rabbit food, and it does specify not pellets either, not rabbit pellets, a natural rabbit mix. After that, I used so it's 50% of rabbit mix. Then I use 25% of processed grains, which is a low sugar breakfast cereal. So anything under 5% sugar. I'm using multigrain hoops at the moment, just a supermarket brand. This one is actually 4.8 grams sugar, so it's on the higher side. I don't usually use one that's got that much sugar in, but it's still underneath the 5% threshold, so it should still be safe enough for them. And then I team that up as well with some pasta. I'm using the bow tie shaped pasta at the moment. It doesn't really matter what shape the pasta is, it's just something that they can grab hold of and chew on. So I like to use something I think is interesting for their hands to actually hold on to. So it can be any egg noodles or pasta mixed in with the cereal. Next up is protein, which is 10%. So for that, I use a ideally good quality dog kibble. This one is Harrington, and it's the salmon and potato dog kibble. So this one is more like the pellets, but it's obviously mixed in with the other natural ingredients. Sometimes I'll use chicken, sometimes I'll use a fish, salmon based one. It's just, I like to use a bit of variety, so it's interesting for them, so they're not eating the same thing all the time. So after the protein, oh sorry, one more thing for the protein, you can also include some dry insects. So I put in not a great deal, but just with every sort of cup. So I put in 2 cups of the dog kibble. I'll just sprinkle in some of the mealworms to go with it, so it's not making up a whole cup of mealworms, because I don't think it's healthy for them to eat that many in a single sitting. And after that, I use 10% of either herb or vegetable mixes. So I use the Pets at Home vegetable and herb mixes. So I've got a dried flour mix, a dandelion salad, and I've got some crunchy dried carrots. So I'll either mix in 2 or all 3 of those into the 10% of that. And then finally you use 5%, or I use 5% seeds, and it's just a bird seed mix, again, like I get from the supermarket, and it's just got a good variety of different seeds in there. I think this one has got some, yes, it has got some sunflower seeds, but again, I think like with the mealworms, they shouldn't have too many of those, so I try to get one that hasn't got too many sunflower seeds. And I definitely don't add just 5% of nothing but sunflower seeds, but that's got a good mix of like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, and other wild natural seeds as well. So that is the full breakdown of my mix. So I will show myself adding it to, like I said, the fresh container and mix it all together to make sure I've got a good actual solid mix in the container, so I'm not just scooping out the top of whatever's in there. Mix it up throughout the time you're using it as well, so they're getting a good combination of all of the ingredients, not like I say just the top layer, because obviously seeds and smaller things will sink down to the bottom over time, and all the larger stuff will stay at the top. So you want to make sure you keep mixing it as you're using it for the rats. But yes, like I say, that is my mix. What I would recommend again is, like I say, go online and find the guidelines for the actual mix itself, and then sort of like, you know, experiment with it for your own rats and see what they enjoy or don't enjoy, and what works for you and your little rodent friends. So yes, I shall now mix up the food and show the process of that. So that is the mix completed. I did show a bit of a video of it in the container. I've mixed in with their old mix that was in the smaller container, so it's got some other bits of variety in there now. I saw some shredders mixed in there with it and stuff like that, and some different pasta. So yeah, it'll give them a nice bit of variety to enjoy next time I feed them. And like I said, just have a look online at the Shunamite diet. I'm not going to actually list any links specifically, because there's so many websites and so many bloggers and vloggers that talk about this. I don't know who the best person to refer people to. I know there is one person who created the diet or sort of formulated it. I don't remember who that was, but again, if you Google it, I'm sure that will come up quite quickly. But yeah, just look around, do some research, and then figure out within the guidelines what works for you and for your rats. Now, budget-wise, because I know that might be a concern for some people, when I saw this originally, I did think it would be too expensive to do a mix every month for them. But to be honest, I only brought 1 packet of like specific rat food before I switched to this diet, so I don't know how much rat food goes for in general, or really how long it lasts for, because I switched to this so early on. But I live on a budget in general all of the time, and doing it this way hasn't broken my budget. A lot of the ingredients are very cheap, and the ones that are more expensive generally last for a few months. This container alone should easily last me about a month, and I've got 4 rats in my cage. And say some of the ingredients, the more expensive ones would be things like the dog kibble and the rabbit food, but those will last you more than 1 month. Mealworms are super cheap, pasta's super cheap. If you get store brand cereal, that's pretty cheap. Birdseed is very cheap. And then these things are a bit more money, but you really only need to buy sort of like 1 packet of these per month to go into the container. Like I brought 3 packets and that will easily last me 3 or 4 months. So when you spread it out over the time that you mix it in, the budget does actually work out quite easily. It's not that expensive to do, and I do think for giving the rats as fulfilling and healthy diet as possible, it's definitely worthwhile doing. So I think that is it for now. I think I've covered all the bases. Like I say, like I'm not an expert on these sort of things, so I do want to reiterate. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but just have a look around some websites, talk to some people on like groups and forums and stuff like that, see what they recommend, and go from there. I'm just putting this out there to show how I personally do my rats diet mix. So I think that is it for now. So as always, thank you for watching, and I will be back in the future with more videos. Goodbye for now.